What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. What's up, guys? Once again, Stephen Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. Listen, if you're new to my channel, if I can ask you guys to do me a huge favor, you guys can please hit that subscribe button. You don't have to do it right now. If you want to feel me out first and watch the video and just get a feel for if you like the kind of content I get, I understand that. But hey, if you generally do enjoy the content, please subscribe. It does a whole lot for us as YouTubers. All right, number two, guys, for all my OGs, you already know what I asked you to do. Hit that like button. You guys know that communicates with YouTube, and that's what lets YouTube know that we're having interaction as, obviously content creators and then subscriber base, and pushes our content out across the platform. All right, y'all. I want to jump into today's topic because I know a lot of you guys probably clicked on this due to the title, which is we're going to talk about the free agent cornerbacks in this market coming up, and who do I think are the top targets? Like who are the players that the Eagles should be taking notice of? And I got to be honest with you. If you look at this particular class of free agents, what you're seeing is a lot of guys who were very, very big in top prospects from the 2014 through 2016 draft in this list of people. There is going to be some talented players who either through injury, maybe development, maybe not scheme fit, for a lot of different reasons, did not quite develop underneath the systems they were in. And I got to be honest with you. I think the Eagles have real opportunity to upgrade the secondary. And that's a big thing, guys, because I do think that the secondary and the wide receiver core were our two biggest Achilles heels to the season last year. And that's got to get fixed. So, without further ado, guys, let's jump into today's topic.
It does help when you can hold up on the perimeter to be able to dial up a few more pressures.
The obvious elephant in the room here, guys, is I'm not completely confident on exactly what coverage schemes we'll be running next season. Because obviously, Corey Underlin moving on is a fate we haven't had to face here in a very long time as Philadelphia Eagles fans.
Patricia hired Eagles defensive backs coach Corey Underlin to run Detroit's defense.
The organization has had Corey Underlin in it for quite some time now. He predated Jim Schwartz and these guys. So, Corey Underlin, very well-respected coach around the league. I pointed out some things on film. You guys heard me criticize him, and I said, look, I don't believe in Underlin or his assistants, whoever's responsible here, in terms of the job they're doing here, because I see breakdowns in fundamentals of guys that can't turn around and track the ball right, guys who don't know how to play through the receiver's hands to punch the ball out, guys that can't read and diagnose in zone. I mean, it was just a lot of core issues when it came to developing players. I didn't believe in their ability to develop corners, and that's a big problem here.
That trail foot in the ground. Play it like it's a pass. Get off that block.
Part of the reason why I think that the Eagles organization was probably really willing to say, okay, Underlin, hey, good luck in Detroit. We're not going to block you being able to become a defensive coordinator. Hey, man, do your thing. Now, I will say this. With every criticism, if you're going to be genuine and honest, then you have to give the good with it as well. And I'm not too sure how much Corey Underlin played a part in picking the coverage concepts within this defense, but if he played a pivotal role in that, and I don't know if he did or didn't, none of us know that. Only him and Jim Schwartz know that. The one thing I will say is I thought the Eagles did a fairly good job through most of the games of being in the correct coverage, in the correct down and distance, in the correct situation, but guys just didn't make the right play on the ball. Guys failed to communicate in the back end, especially in quarters coverage. I wanted to pull my hair out every time I saw the Eagles in quarters coverage because the safeties just were not communicating very well.
Cousins first down, going deep for Diggs. He makes the catch.
And then, even when we were in zone, we were correctly in zone. We were playing the right, type of scheme for the wide receiver route trees that were being run. Guys like Sidney Jones struggled to actually read the route tree. They struggled to read the quarterback. They just weren't very good zone defenders.
40-yard line. Ryan will throw over the middle.
And I saw a lot of those issues of not understanding your personnel, not developing your personnel, not teaching really good fundamental techniques. I saw a lot of that. Now, like I said, his play calling to me looked pretty good. The way he designed the defense with Jim Schwartz, that I won't criticize too much. But the real fine details of it, I saw some substance to the criticism and some reason for not really shedding a tear for him being gone. But that's clearly going to affect who we're going to target here. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of players. Now, I'm going to divide these up into three, but I'm only really going to focus on two. I think there's three distinct type of corners in this particular free agency round. You have your bigger, physical, kind of, reroute the wide receiver into his route tree kind of guys. And then you have your more athletic, faster corners. So those two are the two we're going to primarily target and talk about. I will give you guys a rundown of the slot corners. I just don't think the Eagles have an obvious need for the slot corners. Not that we couldn't upgrade there. And, I like both the guys we have playing there, but there are better guys out there. I will say this, though. Money's a factor, and both of our slot corners are very good football players, and they're on the cheap. You don't mess up a good thing. So let's get into it, guys. So the first round of people I want to talk about, and I'll give you my top 5 overall at the very end. But the first round I want to get into here is this concept of the bigger physical, corners. And I see 5 of those, really 6, but it's a tie for the 5th place. 5 of these guys I think could come in or be re-signed and are good guys. These are good football players. I know you guys hate this idea. I know you guys don't like the idea of bringing in Dallas Cowboy. I'm talking about purely talent, guys. And the best cornerback available in this free agency class, I'm sorry, you're wrong if you say otherwise, because it's quite obvious on film. Byron Jones is the best available cornerback. It's not even close. So Byron Jones is a bigger physical guy. There's going to be the obvious weirdness of what happened with Orlando Scandrick and whether or not we can trust any other Dallas Cowboy members, especially of the defense coming in here. All that's a valid concern. But with that said, some guys are professionals. Like, what I'm saying? Not every guy is going to be like Orlando Scandrick, who's going to ruin his playing career, because I highly doubt any team is going to take you on after you stirred that up in the locker room, because everyone took notice of what you did. So I don't think Byron Jones would be foolish enough to do that. Number one, he's not a veteran guy like that to where he can, he's not that he's not a veteran, but he's not a, like a 8, 9, 10-year veteran in the league. So he's not at the end of his career, basically. So he's not going to do something like that, in my opinion. Byron Jones is a very physical guy. He's faster than a guy like Jalen Mills. I just, I think that's the best available corner, and he's, the best, clearly the best, bigger physical corner out there.
Sets, looking to throw, looking to air it out deep for McLaurin. It's incomplete.
My number 2 guy in this position, guys, would be James Bradberry from the Carolina Panthers. James Bradberry is not rated very high by Pro Football Focus. Sometimes I think people lose context of what's going on. James Bradberry became the number 1 corner in Carolina this season. So, of course, his overall grade is going to go down from when he was the second guy. So I thought he did pretty well. I think he's a bigger physical guy. I think he's an upgrade over Jalen Mills. And I don't say that lightly, because I think Jalen Mills is a good football player. I would not be dissatisfied with bringing Jalen Mills back. My number 3 guy, Kevin Johnson from the Buffalo Bills. I'm high on Kevin Johnson. This is a guy I would love to add to the Philadelphia Eagles. If we're going to pass on Byron Jones and we're just not going to spend the money to go re-sign a James Bradberry, or if the Panthers just decide that they're going to make sure no one can get Bradberry, the guy I would target is Kevin Johnson. And the reason why is he's already behind some pretty stiff competition in Buffalo. He's already behind Tre'Davious White and Levi Wallace. So there's motivation for him to get out of that situation. He's got a little bit of an injury concern in his past, but I've watched this guy for many years, guys. He was a Wake Forest Demon Deacon. That is right down the street from where I live, guys. It's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's not very far. I didn't grow up, but I live in Greensboro. I grew up in Newcastle, Delaware, and I lived in Raleigh for a long time. I've watched this guy play. I've seen him play live in 2 games. He's a good football player. This is a very good football player. Kevin Johnson is very high on my list, guys. Number 4, Jalen Mills. Look, Jalen Mills lacks speed. He's a physical guy. He's great in the red zone. He's a guy that brings a bit of an attitude, and that can't be overlooked. Attitude matters. I'm not opposed to bringing back Jalen Mills, but I'm not going to sit there and say that he's better than Kevin Johnson, James Bradberry, or Byron Jones. I don't put him in that category. Now, my number 5 guys I would put as a tie, and honestly, I would rather have Jalen Mills back than either one of these guys, but in the event that we just, we're just need to add a veteran presence to go compete with Sidney Jones, go compete with whoever else we're going to draft to come in here and play corner, I could see us going after a guy like P.J. Williams, just like Jalen Mills. He's a bigger physical guy. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's slightly faster than Jalen Mills, but he's still going to get burnt by speed receivers. And then Darryl Worley. I think Darryl Worley's been around the league a little while. Yeah, he was on a pretty bad team in Oakland, but I do like Darryl Worley, the football player. You turn on the film, he's a pretty good football player. Those are my bigger physical corners. Now, to change gears, the more athletic, faster cornerbacks. I think there's a big drop off here once you get past the first two guys on this list. But I will admit, some of these guys were very, very high up on the draft boards when they were drafted. There's a lot of talent behind some of these guys, but it just hasn't developed. Very scary situations that are very similar to Sidney Jones and some of these guys. So, the number one guy, he's very high on my list of who I think the Eagles should target. The only knock I really have against this guy is him coming out of Cincinnati scares the hell out of me because the Bengals just, they weren't a very good team last year. That organization is a shit show. I don't know how much we want to be tied to that shit show, but Darqueze Dennard, I like Darqueze Dennard a lot, guys. He's very high on my list. Darqueze Dennard and Kevin Johnson, I would not be dissatisfied if we walked away in free agency with these two guys. That would make me feel very comfortable about the Eagles defense. And I don't care what kind of scheme we put in, we'll figure that crap out. Those are two very good football players. Darqueze Dennard is high on my list. I got concerns because, like I said, he's coming out of that losing culture. But I think he was there with the overlap of Marvin Lewis. I'm pretty sure he was. Marvin Lewis, for all the knocks he has, was a good, defensive football mind. And Marvin Lewis is a good coach. We see that now. People like to knock Marvin Lewis, but it ain't easy coaching the Bengals. It's not an easy job.
Difficult to tell whether or not his heel actually touched out.
Number 2 is Eli Apple. You can see, like I said, guys, it starts to be a very drastic drop-off. I still think Eli Apple is a respectable corner. I think this is a good football player. I still think you have concerns there with Eli Apple. Number 3, Trey Waynes, Minnesota Vikings. Trey Waynes is this ridiculous speed, guys. This is a 4.3 type speed. This was a number 11, I think, overall pick a few years ago. He's got talent. He's got very raw talent. I got to be honest with you. It does concern me that you couldn't make it in a Mike Zimmer-led team. That does concern me. So, lots of talent there. Lots to maybe develop there. I ain't confident in Eagles' ability to develop corners, though. That's the problem I have here. I could see the Eagles certainly take a shot on him, but he would be low on my priority list. Number 4 would be Bradley Roby. Bradley Roby, the former Denver Bronco, he ended up signing a deal with the Denver Broncos. The Houston Texans, my bad. Look, the guy's been really up and down in his career. He's really been like really good year, bad year, really good year, bad year, really good year, and he's due for a bad year. I will say this, Bradley Roby had a pretty down year in Denver. He leaves Denver. He signs a prove-it deal with the Houston Texans, and he played pretty good this year. The problem is he was on a 1-year, $10 million contract with them. I don't know if we're in it at $10 million with Bradley Roby. I don't know that his value is that high. $7 to $8 million, he's a good football player. He's better than we've been throwing out there. I could see that. I just don't know that the Eagles are up around that $10 million range for corners. I don't feel comfortable saying that we are. So if his market's going to be that high, then I don't know that we're going to be in the market for him. Now, you can add a guy like an Artie Burns, who's a really inexperienced guy, into that. I don't know where you really want to place Artie Burns, though. He's a hard guy to place. He's got good speed, but he is a bigger guy. So I don't know if you put him in with that more bigger physical corner, if you put him in with more athletic, faster corners. I'd have to watch more film on him. To be honest, he hasn't played a whole lot this season. He's a guy that you could definitely kind of throw in the mold there as well. All right. I'm just going to give you guys a list of some of the slot guys. I'm not going to go in any particular order of how I see them. I'm just going to tell you who's out there. All right. Kendall Fuller, former Giants draft pick, played with Kansas City. He's a good football player. Brian Poole. Brian Poole, I think, is one of the most underrated guys on this list. Brian Poole, playing on a very bad Jets team, I thought was pretty damn good this season. I think this is a guy that's vastly underrated. Now, he's a slot guy. I just don't know that there's a fit for him here in Philadelphia, but I honestly think the Jets are going to make sure this kid doesn't go anywhere. But if they do let him go, that's a mistake. You got Mackenzie Alexander in the slot. He's pretty good. Some people envision Kevin Johnson even as a slot player. Me, personally, I think Kevin Johnson moved into the slot at times just because of the competition in Buffalo, but I do think he's a natural outside corner. So I don't really put him there. But there's definitely some available talent at the slot positioning in this draft. There is one guy in that list that really interests me in terms of the Eagles possibly picking him up, and that's Kendall Fuller, because the Chiefs have done something very interesting with Kendall Fuller. They've made him that free safety, that ball hawking safety in their cover one concepts and cover three, in their single high concepts, basically. They've moved him out there to that basically ball hawking position, that free safety position. You take a guy like Kendall Fuller, who's a natural slot guy, and move him out to free safety and give him that, ability to rove around the field and use his ball hawking skills. You put him in there with, guys like Avonte Maddox in the slot and guys like Cravion LeBlanc in the slot. Add some guys like a Byron Jones or James Bradbury or a Kevin Johnson or a Darqueze Dennard. Get a good, promising prospect in the draft. I could see this Eagle secondary drastically improving. So these are the guys that I see. Now, to close out this video, guys, I'll give you my top 5. This might change. And look, guys, if you say like, oh, I think this guy should be 3 and not 2, like that's fine, guys. Some of this stuff to me, it doesn't matter if you play someone 2 or 3. These are just the 5 guys I feel like have real talent that are available in free agency, in my opinion. Number 1 is Byron Jones. Number 2 is Darqueze Dennard. Number 3 is James Bradbury. Number 4 is Kevin Johnson. And number 5 is Eli Apple. I think these 5 football players can play. I think all 5 of these guys have real abilities. And we got to improve. We've got to find a way to improve this. But this is my list. You guys let me know what you think. Tell me what you guys are seeing in terms of the corners. Look, as we go on into the offseason, guys, I'll break down film. I'll show you guys what I see on them in coverage. I'm not going to break down film right now on like 20 different people, guys. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? Like that would be way too long of a video. But these are the guys that I'm keeping my eye on as we progress towards free agency. Like I said, I will pick up film for you guys. I will show you some of their coverage techniques. I'll show you what schemes they fit better in. I'll tell you if I think they're a fit with the Eagles. But some of this I can't say with confidence until I see what's going on with the defense. I don't know. I have no clue what's going to go on with this defense. So we'll see. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here. If I left someone off the list that you like a lot, let me know who it is. I'll go check them out. I mean, I looked through the list pretty carefully. There was a lot of guys I would have loved to have hit free agency, but like Marcus Peters and some of these guys are not going to hit free agency. They've been wrapped up with new contracts. So unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But it's a pretty good list of guys that will be available. So, all right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here. Y'all let me know what you think. And oh, yeah, EAGLES. All right, y'all. Let's go Eagles. It's time to improve the secondary, gentlemen and ladies.